Hello, I'm back. And I really didn't want to say that because it was supposed to be continuous.
Anyway,
Sorry about that. Okay, to give you a recap on mothers, brothers, and sisters, because I did them haphazardly, because now I have my cheat sheet. Mother had 10 brothers and sisters. Most of the women died young. Katie was 25. She was the oldest. Laura was 28. And Jenny, who was Ray's mother, died at 72. And Sarah died at 93. Joe, one of her brothers, died at 72. Rosie died at 4 months. Lawrence died at 18. Emily died after mother did. I don't have a date on that one. Lewis died at age 9 days. Mother was 60 years old. She had 28 grandchildren. And at the time this was written, she had 39 great grandchildren. Now that has increased immensely, I know. And Alice died after mother did, and I don't have the exact date. So mother came from a very large family, and like I've said, her mother, Louisiana Lawrence, yes, she was named after the state. She died in her 40s, and mother and Aunt Emily and Aunt Alice were little children, and the different sisters took them in. Aunt Sarah took Aunt Emily; she was the older of the children, and Aunt Jenny took mother and Aunt Jenny. They lived with them well until mother got married. I mean, Aunt Jenny was like a grandmother to all of us. At least that's the way we all felt. She she was a character, and like Tom says, she taught him how to play cards. So um, I already covered Daddy's brother and sister. Now my aunts and uncles, most of them were a big percentage of them were dead when I came along, but of course Aunt Jenny, Aunt Sarah, Aunt Emily, and Aunt Alice were. I did not know mother's brother Joe. He didn't come around the family, and I did not know him. Um, Now you want to go to my brothers and sisters? Okay, my earliest memories were when we lived at 124 West Market Street, and of a big family, a lot of confusion when at meals time. You had your own place, as most families do, and you sat in that same chair all the time. That was your place. And it was always a lot of commotion, talking. Webers are noted for that, and one being louder than the other. We lived in a strange time with the Second World War because I don't consider myself one of the greatest generations by no means, but they were the greatest generation when you think of the hardship that they had. My poor mother, she made a novena up at St. Boniface every Tuesday for all the ones that were in the service, for her two boys, Jim and Elvin, and for Leo and for Lou. So, I mean, we had rationing. Uh, I tell about the time that Jimmy ate mother's supply of canned pineapple. This during the Second World War, you couldn't get pineapple because it came from Hawaii, and well, there was a lot of things you couldn't get. And we had a storage place off of the kitchen, and Jim found her supply, and he ate it, and she was very angry at the time. But of course, like everything else, it became one of the funny stories afterwards. So Jim had his pineapple, and Mother had her memories. Um, we had to have um, stamps to get shoes, sugar, any of the things that were hard to come by. But as always, Weber's always ate well, and that it was no reflection on Francie being head of the rationing board. She did not and would not give extra stamps to her family. In fact, probably just the opposite. And she had a very responsible job with the rationing board. She was head of the one here, one of the ones here in Louisville. Somebody said to be sure and tell about the beer for their Francie and Lou's wedding. Back then, like I say, it was the end of the Second World War, and beer was, you could get it, but only on, it was rationed. So Francie or somebody would call her and say, hey, the NP or the Kroger's out in St. Matthews has beer. She'd call Mother and Aunt Margie and take one of the girls she worked with out to the Kroger's or the NP in St. Matthews or wherever. Each would pick up a 6-pack. So they'd have a case of beer. Now, I know they stored it in our, at 124 West Market. Were they hid it from Daddy? I have no idea, but they must have done a good job because the beer flowed like water at their reception. It was held at a Democratic camp, I guess. It was a very nice place. It's where the I-64 comes up Grinstead Drive now. That it was in that area. Breslin Park. And they had a great reception. Everybody talked about the reception. Virginia's reception was at the Brown Hotel. She had a big breakfast and lots of people. I remember that every time Leo came in from Fort Knox, he'd say to my mother, Mom, I got another person I want to invite to the breakfast. Leo had lots of friends, and of course, Mother was paying for it. So, anyway, next married was, I guess, Jim and Helen, and they were married on Thanksgiving down at St. Benedict's. And then Elvin married Mary Margaret, and then in 1950, I think it is, we moved, Mother, Daddy, Tom, and I moved to Thornbury. And Tom was a student at Bellarmine at the time. Of course, he was going to be drafted for would that have been the Korean War? And so anyway, he was a student at Bellarmine, and well, there goes my train of thought.
Let me ask you, so Aunt Virginia and Uncle Leo's wedding reception was a breakfast.
Right.
Did they used to do, why was that a breakfast instead of a afternoon thing like they do today?
That was Virginia's choice.
Okay.
So were they at the Brown Hotel, at the Kentucky Hotel, I'm sorry.
Were they married before or after? Was the ceremony before or after?
Oh, it was before. It was a mass. I just read in some paper that it was on a Thursday because Leo's brother, who was a priest, Father George, came down from Cleveland, and he could only marry them on a Thursday because he didn't want to mess up his schedule for confession and Sunday Mass. So that's why it was on a Thursday. Why she picked a breakfast, I don't know. But
well, didn't people used to get married in the morning?
Oh yeah, yeah. 9 o'clock, because there was, back in those days, Catholics had a fast from 12
Before
midnight,
communion.
and you couldn't. That was hard to do. Um, anyway, I was on Tom. He was at Bellarmine. He graduated in June, and he was drafted and went to Maryland, Dundalk, Maryland. And then he and Angela were married in December of 54. And he, and I think there were like 8 or 10 of the boys from Bellarmine, a group. They were all put in this, like the OCS, or the intelligent thing. He was, he would spy on people. He was, they were training him for that, but of course he didn't stay in the army that long, and so it didn't pan out that he would be a spy. He went to work for IBM then. Ask me some questions. Okay.
You're doing fine. So, all right. Lee and Peg wanted you to go through aunts and uncles. You did that. Ann and Frank, what was your first car? And tell us about the different jobs that you had.
Oh, that I had?
Yeah.
Oh, my first car was a 54 Ford, and my boss, Mr. Sam, who was a marvelous person, he was I worked for lawyers, and he was Jewish, but he always liked to hire the Catholic girls. He'd have me call Mercy every time we needed a girl. So ended up, most of the people I worked with came from Mercy or one of the Catholic high schools. It was a 54 Ford, and it needed repairs every time I took it out. It was so nice when I got older and could buy a brand new car. And back in those days, it seems like even if you bought a fairly new car, they were bad. I mean, you were always taking it back to the shop. Anyway, I worked for Mr. Sam. It was Steinfeld and Steinfeld for 14 years. Then a friend of mine said that Falls City was looking for a secretary, Falls City Brewery. And she had me get an interview, and I went down and talked to him, and took the job. That was in July of 67. And I stayed there till they closed. I was their last employee. And then Sister Renee was administrator at Sacred Heart Home, and she had some trouble with her bookkeeper, and she was looking for somebody. And I mean, God was knocking on my door, but I didn't answer it because I just ignored it. There was a job, she offered it, and I said, "Oh, I don't know what I was thinking." So finally, it dawned on me, hey, this is a decent job. So I took the job with Sacred Heart Home and stayed there until I retired in 1998, semi-retired, and I worked part-time. And I love being retired. I don't know how I ever worked, and I don't want to go back. Well, I couldn't. I'd never make it on time. So, and I can't type anymore. This left hand's gone, so it hits the cap lock, and that's why everything I do is in caps. Nick said I should do it in lower space, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I can just keep typing.
So when you were a kid, now you were much younger than. So who was next to you, Uncle Jim?
Tom.
No, above you, older than. Oh, that's right, Uncle Tom. And then was there a gap between him and Jim?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were kids, what did you do for fun, and what kind of games did you play?
We played a lot of Monopoly and what's that other one? Oh, I can't think of it. Board games. And of course, I was the little sister, and those big brothers all cheated. And mother threatened never to let us play again because we fought. They fought, and I probably cried because they wouldn't. I lost. Anyway, we played cards. In those days, it was a lot of around the kitchen table, you know. Now, uh, we had company all the time. I mean, Jenny would be there, Theodore and Clarence, they would come over, and we always had somebody around with us. Um, I need help.
Okay. How about what was your favorite movie as a kid?
My favorite what?
Movie. And then this says what was your favorite TV show as a kid? Were there TV
Oh
shows?
gosh, I couldn't tell you the TV show because it's been I haven't. I liked Gary Moore when I was in high school. My mother worked for the city of Louisville when I was a sophomore in high school, I think, right after we moved out on Thornberry. So she would tell me, fix this for supper, start it, so when she came home, she could finish it up. So I did watch television in those days by myself, I guess, and I liked the Gary Moore show. I don't know, none of you all would know it.
Tell the truth.
No, not tell the truth, just Gary Moore. It was a talk show like, and he was very good. I liked him. Um, I took a lot of nice trips once I got out of school and had some money and luggage. That was the first thing I think I bought was a set of luggage, and had it took some good trips, but didn't go to Europe until I guess in the 60s. We went to Spain. A friend of mine, um, she and I worked together. No, we went to high school together. Eventually, she's the one that got me the job at Falls City. And
What was her
we
name?
went to Spain
What was her
and
name?
Morocco.
What was her name?
Pat
Pat.
White.
Okay.
And
Remember that name.
she's still living. I don't see her that often, but then Francie and I took a couple trips together. We went to see Judy and Jay when they were over in Germany, and had some good times. Francie and I took a lot of trips when I think about it. Uh, Disneyland. The two old ladies loved Disneyland, and we weren't old
I
then.
was gonna say, how old were you?
I would say in my 40s, and she would have been in her 50s, 60s. Your mom was, Francie was 15 years older than me, but we were very compatible. And now Virginia lived in Cleveland until the 60s. I think she came in 1960. She came home to Louisville to live. And I went with Leo, she and Leo to, Lee.
Do you want to stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just see.
Yeah.